Hi everyone.
Hi guys.
It's really lovely to see you. I'm sorry, it really has been a long time.
It's been a very long time.
It's been a long time, and there's no excuse. We were in our own little world, weren't we?
Life got in the way.
Life got in the way. Some stuff happened. Not with us. We're good. Okay. We're best mates, but other things. So today we just wanted to have a little catch up and basically say some of the stuff we've been wearing recently. Nothing sort of formal, really. Just
I think we wanted to do what we would kind of naturally do if you haven't seen each other for a while. Just chat about what we've been wearing for the last, was it kind of 3 months since our last video, something like that?
Maybe, yeah. That's a really bloody long time.
Quite a lot of time. So change of seasons.
Change of seasons, a bit colder, maybe.
Yeah. So we've just we've taken 5 fragrances each, which we've been really reaching for and wearing for, wearing.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I've got a kind of a mixture of a couple of new things and a couple of things I've kind of gone back to and enjoyed a bit.
That's got a nice balance, isn't it? And going back to things that we've not smelt for a while. I think when you have bigger collections, it's so easy for stuff to get sort of shoved to the back of a cupboard.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've not really bought any new stuff much over Christmas, but what I have done is tried some stuff that I had recently before Christmas and that I hadn't really worn. And I've really enjoyed actually spraying some stuff on and giving it a proper day or two of wearing. Whereas previously, the last time I may have smelled them was on a card.
Test strips. Keep talking.
Test strips, yeah. So this is essential because without test strips, we're going to have to spray all these on skin, and we don't have enough skin. I have more than Dan because I'm a little bit carrying some holiday weight.
You've got a beard coming as well. That's good.
I have, yeah. I've got a little bit of a beard coming.
Right.
It's gone through the scratchy phase now, and I'm in the soft phase.
Okay.
So, do you want to start? Should I start? I mean, what do you think? Sure. What do you think? You can't tell us because
do write in and let us know.
Let us know what we should have done.
I'm going to.
Okay.
Okay.
Kick it off.
I'm going to kick off with something which is a new purchase, which I told you about, which is London to Mumbai from Ideo. So I don't know if we've. Do you own this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, you do own. So a little bit of an introduction to this house. I went on holiday to Beirut for New Year. I think it would have been 5 or maybe 6 years ago now for New Year. And when I was there, as I normally do when I go abroad, I would just check to see kind of what if there are any perfume houses from that country.
Scene.
Especially from a country like Beirut, and I realised there was this house called Ideo, which is quite new at the time. And I went and tried a few of their fragrances and loved a lot. And I ended up buying Tabush Afandi, which is this amazing, slightly animalic, kind of leathery tobacco thing.
There's beautiful Mandarin.
Yeah, fruity notes. Really has a kind of Guerlain-like complexity. But I also love London to Mumbai, and it was always been on my radar. And then I saw somebody mention that fact that Ideo are now dropped their prices enormously.
They have, haven't they? Yeah.
So they used to be able to get them everywhere in London, in lots of the big department stores, Liberty and Harvey Nicks and places like that, for about, and they were about 150 quid for 100 ml, which is not enormous, but it's quite expensive. So they're now about $90 for 100 ml.
Yeah.
So they seem to have just dropped the prices hugely. Anyway, I saw this on, it was on an Amazon marketplace, so, one of those sub-sellers through Amazon. For 50 quid.
I need to talk to you about that because I want to get into those.
But this is this is London to Mumbai, and
you introduced this to me years and years ago.
I've been wearing it loads. Thanks, I mean, it's a really kind of easy reach, easy wearable thing, and it really reminds me of a few fragrances I love, and it's kind of combined all of them together. For me, in kind of 3 fragrances that I kind of get, which I love, which is Trumpet Sandalwood. Oh, I love it. Just fills this thing. So I get this kind of real spiced sandalwood, this long-lasting, rich, creamy, thick sandalwood. The other 2 fragrances it reminds me of are Patchouli Intense by Patricia De Nicolai, which, although it's called Patchouli Intense, for me is all about the geranium, and I get loads of geranium for this. And so then I guess, to a lesser extent, I get hints of geranium pour monsieur.
Yeah, as well. It's got that minty geranium edge, hasn't it? But also a sort of creamy barbershop vibe, which I think is really nice.
But you get the suggestion of that creamy barbershop fragrance without it. It doesn't feel anything like Rive Gauche, for instance.
No, and it doesn't go into a sort of overly citrusy direction either.
No, but I love the way you get this, as I say, the kind of freshness comes from geranium, that kind of minty, fresh floral quality of the geranium.
Yeah. See, I think this could be, and we were briefly discussing a creed earlier on for various reasons, and I think this could be a really good alternative to something like green Irish tweed for that mossy green.
Yeah, yeah.
I think this is much better.
Yeah, it's slightly different because you get this kind of spiced sandalwood.
Yeah.
As well, and also I completely. I mean, it's a great name.
Lovely.
It's a great name for the fragrance because I really get the connection between a kind of a smart London barber shop and and some Indian inspiration from the Indian sandalwood and the bit of spice that's in there. And I've got a clip. I might show a picture of when I was on holiday in Mumbai, actually, of someone having a wet shave in the middle of a park, like with a cutthroat razor. But this, this kind of takes me to that scene. But
that's it. I would love to have this after a cutthroat.
Yeah,
hot towel, the full works. This would be perfect.
But it gives you all that kind of freshness, that kind of bracing freshness with that bit of richness of that sandalwood, that creamy depth. It doesn't smell like a sandalwood. It doesn't smell. It's much better than something like Egoist. If you're thinking of your kind of like standard designer sandalwood. Love it, and I can wear it all the time. It's one of those ones that's a kind of an easy wearing fragrance, but it's rewarding. Yeah, and you feel you're getting complexity and richness.
Fresh, but with a lot of body, a lot of personality going on behind it.
Love it. I need to revisit the other, especially now. So they now come in a different bottle design. This is the original bottle design, which is maybe why it was kind of cheaper on.
Because that's what I've got. Yeah, and Tabusha Fandi, I have that bottle as well.
They've now got little different pictures. But the fact they're now $90 for 100 ml, that's basically a designer price.
That's really good
for something which definitely smells better than.
Yeah, that's better than anything on the high street, I think.
Love it.
Great stuff.
Been reaching for it lots.
I don't blame you. Now, what am I going to go for? I always go off camera here. I'm sorry, but I think the less time you have to look at my face, the better. So, what have I worn?
The rustle of anticipation.
It is the rustle of anticipation. I'll tell you what. I'm going to start with, and this is something slightly unusual, but I've been enjoying just a couple of times. Is this little bad boy, Prissana Mandarava?
I keep nearly buying this. Get it, I
swear to God. Give that a spritz. I mean, it's not something I would ever normally choose to wear in the winter because it's just a big floral sort of melange, but I really love it. And I find in cold weather, on a couple of days that I've worn it, it's really sort of taken me away somewhere else.
Got to look at the colour of that. Wow.
And it's a tribute to his grandmother, and I can see, I can totally see it because it does feel like it's as you imagine your grandmother with all her florals and all her
even from first spray, it's so drawers and kaleidoscopic.
Yeah, it's enormous. It's really enormous. But it feels somehow comforting in a sort of cold winter's day to me.
There's just a hint of like funk lurking in there as well.
That's what I think does it, is the fact that it has got this slight animalic background going on as well.
And there's a slightly aldehydic incense quality, which Prin does a lot. Which
that sort of temple scene.
Temple, but that spiritual feeling, it feels so kind of uplifting, and it's weird because on one hand it is this massive heavy floral thing, but actually I get a real feeling of lift and bright, and
I think it's got the feel good factor of something like Oliver or the salted green mango in terms of that bright fresh bracing thing, but then the florals are huge and they are really quite funky once they start to dry down. I find it so beautiful, and there's a sort of clean white linen thing going on, which again, if you're feeling a bit funky and we had various things going on over Christmas which were a bit stressful, this is a really good sort of pick me up. I found. I love him. I think he's a genius. This bottle is now slightly different, and this is the old bottle. I think now it comes in a little square.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if it's changed at all.
Yeah, we should do a side by side one. But I think it's just really beautiful, and I really love this work. And I've got a couple of these now. I've got Maneshtana as well, which is this incense thing. They're really good.
It's really good. Prin as well, isn't it? It's
totally,
one of the, I mean, which is difficult because Prin does so much, and he seems to have these kind of different styles. But I feel this is kind of Prin at his most Prin, isn't it?
Yeah, and using those exotic Thai ingredients,
complex, exotic, and you smell it and you think, couldn't be anybody else.
It feels like another world. It feels like real. Like we've talked a lot in the past about being transported. I think this one really, like the London to Mumbai as well, it really just takes you somewhere else, which I think is a great gift in a perfume. And he does it better than anyone, I think.
Beautiful stuff.
Isn't that good?
Really good. Right. Another one for me, actually, which is also a recent purchase, is Cabochard by Grey.
I need to smell this again.
So this is, for me, a new purchase. When did I get it? I got it after Christmas, and so this is the 2019 formulation of a 1959 fragrance. So this is the Eau de Parfum, and it cost me, I think, $18.99, including delivery. So this is Bernard Chant. Originally, you know, on my
Aramis man.
Exactly. You know, has made a lot of fragrances
He's done
we
some
love.
great work.
I have to say, on that subject, I bought Azuré by Estée Lauder.
Yeah.
And didn't like it. I actually sold it. Anyway, I really dislike this bottle. I mean, I think originally it was designed with the bow, but the bottle looks kind of so cheap. But then for $18.99, what do you expect? So I don't know who's done this reformulation. On Fragrantica, it just lists Bernard Chant. But this, I mean, I think when you smell fragrances like this, you need to kind of almost reassess everything you think about perfume, because to smell like this for $18.99,
bloody hell,
you kind of find us chasing all these old bottles. But this is readily and easily available, and it's just this almost the single best example of a green leather chypre I think I've ever smelled. And this is
bloody hell.
So I guess Cabochard means kind of stubborn, I think. And it's amazing, it's almost unbelievable to think this is a feminine fragrance, because it's so moody.
Bitter green.
Bitter green.
I love that.
Heavy,
I think
dark.
That's really good.
But the galbanum, I mean, I've said before, and I love galbanum, but massive galbanum hit, which gives that like twang of green
and
sort
of tobacco-y, ashy stuff going on.
Well, I think that's also this is a real, the leather in this is real isobutylquinolane, which is a real kind of classic leather material. You get loads in the kind of first half of the 20th century, which is this, this, as you say, ashy. Yeah, you really get kind of ash.
Yeah.
Kind of straight away.
Like I think of something like Bondi by
I mean, massive relation. And this is
really,
also,
really good.
there's a relation to other green chypres like Diorella and Black Chanel 19, but actually this is kind of one of my favourite iterations, and great performance, great development. Lots of this green disappears, and you get. I'm sure it doesn't have real oak moss in because it's a new formulation, but they've managed to create the effect of oak moss. Maybe it's some patchouli and verimoss kind of to give the oak moss effect, but it really works. You get a great sense of development. That galbanum brightness disappears as you descend to this isobutylquinolane leather, which makes you think of real leather clothes, or like PVC catsuit.
That's for me, the PVC leather with that slightly like vulcanized rubber or whatever.
100%. But it's so like fierce. Do you know what I mean? It's so.
I'm almost getting like a bubblegummy thing going on as well.
But that's that kind of slight rubbery kind of vibe. Not massively rubbery. It doesn't. It never goes quite playful, I would say. It's more, I'm getting that kind of rubber catsuit.
Yeah, but there's a sweetness. There's just a little sweetness which keeps it friendly.
Yeah.
It keeps it from being like gothically dark.
Yeah. There's a nice, slight musky kind of sweetness to this as well, especially in the dry down. It lasts well. It performs well. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. It's an absolutely incredible, elegant, expensive. No, not a hint of a rough edge.
No. I mean, $18.99. I would pay triple that. No problem.
We've paid 10 times, like more than 10 times. If that was 190 quid and it came from a small house, we would be raving about it. And
there's something in there that it's bringing to mind something else that I know, and I can't put my finger on it.
Well, I think it does. There are relation to lots of kind of fragrances. I think. Even there's a hint of Aramis 900. There's a slight relation to that. But
for sure.
I mean, it's weird. I find this more masculine than Aramis 900. It feels so.
Oh, that's really good. I'm ordering a bottle of that today. When we get off the cam here, I'm going to order a bottle of that straight away.
There is also there's Needy Tea as well, which came out at the same time. Be interesting to see that, or if people have known it.
We should do it side by side with the older formulations as well, and see what.
Yeah.
Because it's been around for a while, hasn't it? It would be interesting to see how it's changed.
Amazing. I love it.
I love that. Fantastic. What have I also given little spritzes of? I think I've talked about this before, but actually it's a slightly weird one, and I'm really. There we go. This Vanille Absolument by Artisan, and I've worn this because I one day thought I need to see if I can get into vanillas, because I smelt. This is Duchefort as well. Now I smelt a while ago this Tom Ford vanilla of the range that has Oud and Sandalo and all those guys.
Oh right.
And I quite liked it, and I thought I would combine that with something else. And then I thought I'm going to try this again, give that a spritz. So we think, to me, as vanillas go, this to me is the same as Iris Silver Mist in terms of being unfriendly. Because Iris Silver Mist is just straight up Iris, and this is vanilla with all the bitterness, and it's quite challenging, I find, for a vanilla.
I mean, I get in a slight. Get a slight relation to the Couvon.
The Minimi.
Yeah. But there's an interesting bitter, savoury quality from the outset, isn't there? Almost.
It's quite a tough
like wood
challenge. I think.
Some kind of wood, like freshly, not like a cedary kind of wood, but some kind of woody, barky.
There's something of an industrial aspect to this. So I don't know whether it's wood or
almost
like a varnish or something.
Yeah, almost like an oily. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I've been back and forth, and sometimes I've worn it and thought I'm not so keen, and other times I went and think actually I'm really enjoying this. I think this is a great perfume to adapt to whatever mood you're in at the time.
But I wonder what it's like. Are they still doing it?
I don't know if they do actually.
It'd be interesting to see now they've all been reformulated
this
and
one,
changed.
It was quite rare when I got it. I mean, look, I've not worn very much, but just enough from the top there.
Yeah, it's interesting with fragrances like this that it's such a kind of specific thing. Do you know? Like I can't actually think of that. I certainly don't own any fragrances which smell like that.
No, well, apart from
I'd have to be in like the kind of the right mood. It's such a kind of specific mood setter, isn't it?
I mean, it's very I think it's an equivalent to something really melancholic that you'd find from Guerlain, like
I can see
La Bleu or something. Yeah. It's definitely one to sort of sit by yourself, feeling slightly down. And it sounds weird because it's vanilla. You might think sort of gourmand sweet,
but it's not pastry. That easy, like simple vanilla.
It's bitter. Vanilla. It's quite cold as well.
Yeah,
I find the temperature drops a little bit when I wear this.
I get no hint of sugariness.
No,
at all.
No, which I hate in sort of vanillic things.
Yeah,
if it's boozy, I don't mind, but if it's just pure sweetness and that cloying quality, I don't like it. But yeah, I thought I'd give it a try over Christmas, and I really like it actually.
Yeah.
I'll have a look and see if they're still making it. I don't know. If they are, I imagine it's a little bit friendly.
If I can try and find out.
But another one from the great Bertrand. So
I like Bertie.
Yep, he's great.
Amazing. Right, something. Actually, this is also kind of a newish one. But I bought this on Black Friday. So when was that?
Black Friday.
That's like December, wasn't it?
Just before Grey Thursday.
Yeah.
The following week, obviously.
So this is. I don't think we've talked about this house at all.
Ah, no.
So from the house of Fort and Manle. This is Bojnikoff's Purple Hat, which is one of the best names for a fragrance ever.
It's a great name.
And I think I sprayed this to you in December. So when we saw each other.
You may well have done, yeah.
When we were just singing together. This again. I got this in a sale. So I think I paid £120 for this, including delivery. So it was a good sale. And I've just. You've smelt this before, haven't you? I think I sprayed it on. But this is such a kind of a unique, compelling, kind of crazy, but so it's really lavender, chocolate, and really quite funky oud. Which sells. I'm just going to say as well. There was one time, I think it was in December, and I was getting on the train into London, and I kind of sat down, and then a bunch of kids walked on and they went, "Oh my god, man, this place stinks of shit. It actually smells of shit." So like, high praise indeed. So it is the oud.
You've done the job.
Yeah, the oud is quite funky. I believe
that lavender is minty and
it's
wonderful.
That balance of this kind of like really kind of indie, funky, slightly fermented oud.
That's really good.
With this kind of surprise, searing freshness of lavender.
And there's a kind of weird gothic.
Oh yeah,
sort of gothic friendliness to it.
Well, yeah, isn't it weird because it almost feels like a concept fragrance.
Yeah.
In the thing, it seems almost so jarring, but somehow it doesn't go into. Well, obviously I don't think it's unwearable because I've been wearing it a lot. But sometimes it works. You don't expect it to work, but
I find almost that it has a sort of blackcurranty edge as well, which I don't know why, but I'm trying to figure that out.
I think it's more of like the impression of blackcurrant, isn't it?
And it's really minty. I sort of get a really dark mint chocolate.
I think it's the lavender gives the suggestion of mintiness. It's kind of got that aromatic edge which makes you think of a peppermint.
Yeah, but it is just lavender, isn't it? Getting a bit of tobacco there as well.
Yeah, you get tobacco.
Sort of green tobacco leaf.
Oh, I love it. And it's much.
I like that
it's much better on skin. I get the oud feels a little bit rounder, and it reminds me a tiny bit of Russian oud. By Arisha Dore, without having that kind of sticky lavendery thing. What I do get later in this, rather than the kind of lavenderyness, you get a bit more kind of vanilla and this kind of gaiac woody kind of feel. I mean, I guess my only problem with this is that the real dry down I find a bit disappointing. It becomes a little bit kind of sort of generic vanilla-y woody. Kind of gaiac woody vanilla-y with maybe some of, I don't know if there is real oud as well, but it feels like a slightly synthetic oud dry down. So the end of the dry down is not quite as exciting as the opening, but just for the initial experience, especially, I love wearing it.
I think that's fantastic. I mean, I would happily, if you didn't enjoy the sort of latter stages of the dry down, I would just reapply that and enjoy that again.
Well, and also, when you smell a fragrance and you think, I don't have anything else like this.
No, absolutely.
What I get from my first spray is so enjoyable and so unique and unlike anything I've got.
Do you know, I've been thinking about that recently because I've had various things that I've tried, and I thought, actually, that's really similar to blah and blah and blah that I've already got. And I think I need to really be more careful in the future because, of course, we tend to gravitate towards certain things, don't we?
Yeah.
And if we like this, we'll probably like that. But actually, things like that are worth seeking out and going for something off the beaten track altogether. I really like that a lot. I like the bottle as well. I think that's a really cool design.
They're
that's
some of the best.
In there, isn't it? Look at that.
Design. Right, what have you got next?
Next to my little bag of tricks, I'm going to go for. This is probably one of my newest purchases, actually, which we talked about on here before. So this is Moments by Motif Olfactif, in its little coffin there.
Mr. Oz.
And I really like this a lot because this, Mr. Oz, I mean, what a great name. This is, it's this boozy, sort of cognac-y thing that I love the most in this. I mean, you've smelled this already, haven't you?
Yeah, I'd like to remind myself about that.
I think I let Dan do the spraying because I'm an under-sprayer and Dan actually gets more juice out.
I almost brought Voile d'Encens, which is still one of these, which I have been enjoying. I
really love that sort of booziness, and then it goes into the leather and the sort of serious stuff. But at the opening there, I just find it really appealing and really comforting.
And I think a few of his fragrances have this oak wood, which is this like boozy, deep, heavy woodiness.
It's straight away that woodiness is apparent. I mean, which considering you're talking base notes is right there.
But you kind of feel
it's like a barrel.
Yeah, it really is like a barrel. I was going to say it feels like you've gone right into the base, but actually there's something about it which is energetic.
Yeah, it's that green opening again. I don't think there's galban in there, but there is. I get that feeling of a sort of slightly bitter green something in the beginning. I mean, I've never really looked properly at a list of notes of this because I don't care, because I just like it, and I'm trying to find things as I wear it. I do get a slight bitter green
There's
thing.
a hint of stewed fruit without it going completely in that direction.
It does. Yeah, it doesn't go as far as something like that. Another Bertrand, Eau de Serai.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For Naomi Goodslayer, it's not quite as sort of cloying as that.
It's like winey quality.
Yeah.
Is it not as in wine? And maybe that, but maybe that's a relation to the oak wood. But I'm getting a slightly, dark red fruit. Oh, that's good. He's done great work, hasn't he?
I want to smell all of these things, and I think the bottle as well.
Elegant.
I love it. It's elegant, simple. I mean, there's this thing here saying enjoy. It's chunky. It feels good in the hand, and the bottle also feels great. So yeah, I think this is the kind of thing I would never have gravitated to if I just saw it on a shop floor or if I'd sort of heard about it somewhere. And I'm really glad that, especially Dan, keeps introducing me to stuff and to houses, because
that's why it's quite nice. It is quite nice to work through a sample pack, and maybe we'll talk about this another time. But I certainly, for me, the way I try new fragrances is I now prefer to do it at home much more, because otherwise, if I go into a shop, even a shop like Bloom in London, where lots of niche brands, I go, oh, I've heard about this, I'll have this. Oh, that's got those notes, I like that, I will try that.
Yeah.
And loads of things I pass by. Whereas if I purchase a sample pack, I think, well, I might as well try all these, even though I know I'm definitely not going to like it. Oh, actually, I do like the lavender oud chocolate one.
Well, see, even things that I think, like, I've become very, in my brain, I've become very anti eau de toilette. I've become very anti anything that's not sort of big, interesting notes. And actually, I look at something, if I saw something that was called, I don't know,
Eau Fresh or something.
Yeah, Eau Fresh or Watery Fig or something, I would go in there. Yeah. And actually, you smell these things half the time, and they can be really interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to keep our eyes open. And so thank you, Dan, for introducing me to this. This
absolutely
house,
beautiful.
Because I really enjoy that, and I think they have more to come.
Right.
I hope they do.
What am I going to do next? I've got a few honourable mentions. 1, 2, 3. So this is, this I've got to mention because this is one I actually have, and I'm going to show you first like how much kind of juice. This is one I'm getting through a lot. This is Musk Khabib by Bortnikoff. So when we a while ago, so we did a review of what's the amber one called? Amber Cologne.
Yeah. So the very first one that we did.
And then Bortnikoff sent us bottles of Oud Monarch and Musk Khabib, and Joe took the bottle of Musk Khabib and I took the bottle of Oud Monarch. And then later I kind of smelt the sample I had, and I bought myself this bottle because I realised how much I love it, and you can see how much I'm getting through it. And this is,
it's so good.
In a way, it's an everyday. What's great, I find it incredibly wearable and kind of everyday, but absolutely majestic at the same time.
It's so compelling. It immediately grabs you and says, right, you're in for a journey.
And I guess, if you know our channel, you know our taste, and it's got this real kind of vintage feel, but done in a way that you would never get from a vintage fragrance. It's got this Bortnikoff, like amazing kind of opening kind of top notes. There is quite a lot of sweetness to it, and already you're getting that kind of ylang you get in the middle, bit of kind of peppered nutmeg, a bit of kind of black peppered spice, like through that kind of bergamoty top. I don't know if this means anything to you at all, but my brain did a really weird thing then, where I smelt the opening, and it was sort of going along like this, and then it's like there's a trough in the middle where the funky stuff is down there somewhere, and then back up, and I get it that you can tell there's something just lurking in the background. Yeah.
And it's really good.
It's
opened up far more than mine because I've not used much of mine yet.
You can see I've used it, and
that's developed some real layers.
You do feel you kind of got this kind of musky, this kind of sweet, almost. I was going to kind of sickly, but maybe not sickly, but rich kind of sweetness, which is something you wouldn't get with most kind of vintage fragrances that we kind of could buy now.
And they lose their tops as well. That's the thing. And this, if you're getting vintage bottles, they lose that open personality.
It's kind of got like this kind of grapefruity bergamoty, which sounds so kind of like grapefruity bergamoty. That sounds like a million things, but here it's done with such vivid, rich, impactful, fresh.
It's done so well.
In a way, it's not in any way groundbreaking, and maybe that's kind of what I enjoy about it. It's kind of like lots of things I like, but just done in such a spectacular way, which is why I've worn it loads and loads. Because I can just reach for it and spray for it and spray for it.
Yeah, yeah. And well, that's the thing. I don't think it's the sort of thing that's going to take you on a massive amount of detours. No. I think it does what it does brilliantly. And from my experience of wearing it, it just develops and warms up and becomes more human.
Yeah.
One of those fragrances that really works with your own skin. But it's so sexual. I find that smell. It's almost like non-perfume.
Yeah.
It's like I guess it's musk, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you've bottled something of a human or of an animal, and just added little tweaks to kind of give it some lift.
Love it.
It doesn't feel like a perfume.
But on the other hand, it feels completely like it feels absolutely. There's some things about it which feel. I think you said when we first sprayed it, it could be like a classic Guerlain. It feels like there's a real nod to classic perfumery, whilst as you're saying, being a different kind of experience on its own. It's
an experience. That's it. It's an experience more than a smell from outside. It's a smell from within.
And you get that.
I think you emanate something.
You get with a lot of Bortnikoff this kind of slightly bubblegummy mid, this kind of chewy, kind of like sweety floral. Love it. Beautiful, really beautiful.
Good. What's next? I'm going to go for this next because I've not worn this for ages.
The
Black Velvet Cafe, and this is really, really good. I think, especially, from one of our favorite.
It's another fragrance which we both own. We've both got.
Yeah, one of our favorite perfumers, one of our favorite houses. Sarah McCartney works her magic again, and I mean,
a great winter.
Even there, feel free.
Let's go for a spray.
That needs a bit of opening up. It is this really, really funky, dark, animalic, bewitching.
It's a relation. Oud. It's a relation to the Bojnikoff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got the elements of the.
There's a searing
of the sort of chocolatey.
But you get a searing cedar quality, which I'd kind of forgotten about actually.
Yeah, really sort of. If you could make aldehydes out of pencil shavings.
Yeah.
If that was a thing. But then right behind it, it's really quite fierce.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's interesting because I also own Over the Chocolate Shop by 460 Tuesdays, which is again is a heavy dark chocolate experience, but feels so. This is a bit more kind of rough and.
This is really quite mean.
I don't mean rough as in rough edge. I mean like rough and tumble rough.
Yeah. Like Rose likes to sort of talk about his rough and tumble leathers.
Yeah,
I love this. I find it so unapologetic.
It's interesting that it says, by having the word cafe, it makes you think of a cafe which is something, lazy Sunday morning sitting in a cafe. Whereas it does not feel like that at all. It's more of a kind of late night in a bar, having kind of a few cheeky espressos before a fight.
It's definite sort of dark roasted coffee bean.
Yeah, I think that's what I think it's the roasted.
Yeah.
It's the kind of like freshly, it's almost walking past a roastery as opposed to actually going to a cafe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
no milk or hazelnut cream.
But that's the thing, a lot of coffee fragrances go in that kind of like Starbucksy, syrupy sweet, and this is not
New
that.
Harlem and those kind of guys. I love this. I think
I've got to wear this again actually.
I mean, I've not worn very much. I've had a couple of wears out of it, but it's really, really powerful, and it's a real statement piece. And this is why I love Sarah McCartney, because she can do really fun, light-hearted, kind of throwaway things, and she can do really moody, gothic, dark stuff like this as well, equally brilliantly.
I love
it. I mean, it's not, you'll scare people away on the Central Line if you put too many sprays of this on. I think cold weather, you can't go wrong.
I've got to wear that.
Really beautiful.
Right, I've got some more mentions. Honourable mentions. Right, it's difficult. Right, I'm going to go with this one. It's another one where if you look like at how much juice I've got left, I'm really kind of working my way through it. So this is Under My Skin from Francesca Bianchi. It's a house that we've kind of talked about a bit, and I own I think 5 or 6 fragrances. I think this is still my favourite, and it's great for the winter. I mean, God, I love it. My wife wears this sometimes as well. This is one of the sexiest fragrances I own.
Yeah.
So it's just this amazing, rich kind of orangey leather, which is resinous and complex, and it's just I wouldn't say it's necessarily funky, but there's just a hint of funk and warmth.
Just nestling in the background, isn't it?
But it's
unmistakable Francesca Bianchi, isn't it?
But if you like rich, comforting, slightly raunchy fragrances, this is, it's kind of right up there.
So good. Buttery iris.
And when you wear it, it just seems to kind of just really kind of stick with you all day. But it never becomes blunt and kind of smack. It's just hovering around you in this kind of complex, shifting, beautiful, sexy skin.
I've got samples somewhere, and I still haven't really worn them properly. But that's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And I mean, spraying it now on the stick really doesn't do justice. As I say, it's just this thing hovering. And I'm actually, it's, as I say, I love my wife wearing it, and it's something people have kind of complimented me on quite a few times, which is maybe quite surprising.
On your wife?
On my wife. But balance of sweetness and bitterness in that. With that kind of
balance is perfect, isn't it? Depending on which way you want to smell it, you can say I'm going to focus on the bitterness, and it'll glow bitterness, or you think I want to focus on that slightly sweet edge, and that comes alive. It really responds to your imagination.
And there's also there's a real powdery kind of feel, which also feels clean, even though we've described dirty things.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's got a vintage powdery aspect, doesn't it? I mean, I don't find it clean in that sense. I find it
not clean. I don't know. There's just a hint of talcum powdery feel to it.
Yeah,
but maybe more in texture than the smell of talcum powder. Just that,
like amouage gold or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I really regret that I don't have any.
chance to do that. She's a great perfumer. I love.
And straight away her, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, this is.
I wouldn't remember that fragrance. If you said to me, "What's this?" Because I just hadn't smelled it for ages, but I would instantly know it was her. I would instantly know. Well, that carrot seed iris thing, but done in a way that lets all the other ingredients around it shine as well.
Yeah, shine and swim.
Yeah, like a ball in the water. I don't know what that means. Beautiful.
Love it. That's my 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
That's 5. Shall I do 5? Have I got 4? No, I've got 4. I've got one more to go.
Yeah, one more.
So there are a few in here.
What have you been reaching for most in the last few months?
It's a slightly random one that I've not talked about for ages and ages. Midnight in Paris.
It's been a long time since I smelled this.
It had been a long time since I'd worn it, but it was a curiosity really over Christmas. I mean, there's a fair old bit that I've gone through in there. I don't know if this is discontinued now. Have a look. It might be. It might not be. Give that a whirl, mate. Now this, I have to say that I chop and change on this. So this is not my favourite perfume of all time by any stretch. It's what I've been wearing a bit recently. But at the moment, I really enjoy it. And the previous years, I thought, oh, actually, it's not my thing at the moment. But it has, on dry down, the thing that I love is it's got this rubber tyre thing going on, which reminds me of Bulgari Black, which I also quite enjoyed.
It's interesting, in the context of everything else we've talked about, it feels in a very different ballpark.
It's a very different thing. It's very designery.
Yeah, it definitely feels like we've gone into that designer realm.
But for me, the special thing is the dry down.
Yeah, I'm getting a hint of that rubber already.
Yeah. A great bottle. I mean, whatever you say about anything, that is quite funky, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be interesting. This is one I've only ever smelt in shops, in kind of department stores, amongst everything. So I've never experienced it on skin or.
It's worth wearing it because the opening can be a bit misleading because it has a sweetness. It has a slightly sort of cloying, almost I would dare say, slightly cheap designery.
Well, I get that slightly aquatic, almost.
Yeah, and it's got that slight sweetness that you'd find in something like Dior Homme.
Yeah.
But then once the edges start to smooth off, it gets quite friendly. It gets a little bit powdery. And this rubber tyre thing just slowly creeps up, and that's what I love. And it's only a very small phase of the perfume, but I really enjoy that. This is Olivier Polge, who's done lots of good things.
Good lad.
There's an EDP as well somewhere, which I think is slightly It's slightly richer, but it doesn't have much of the opening, which is probably a good thing, I'd say, because the opening's not the best part.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think I need to put that on skin and really wear it to experience it.
It's one for skin. I mean, and it is a cheapie, really. I don't know if it's discontinued. It probably isn't now. But I have days where I do just want to wear something kind of cheap and cheerful.
Yeah.
And this was one of those, really. Interesting.
Awesome.
Interesting.
So those are 5 each that we've been, wearing a lot since we've seen each other. We just got
some honourable mentions.
I've got just a few others which almost could have been in that list. I'm just going to go through these a bit quicker. So this is a discontinued one. This is by Guerlain. This is Coriolan.
Yes.
And I had a splash bottle of this, and then I just can't cope with splash bottles. I find them really stressful. And so
they're so wasteful as well.
And on a Facebook group, someone was selling this. It was kind of last October or something. And I've already got through a fair bit of this. Again, I just find this really easy. I could just wear this day after day, and I really do. And
it's a good bottle.
It's kind of like a massive ball sack. But but what I love, and again, you won't get the experience on card, but it starts off of this kind of slightly, reasonably easy wearing, slight aromatic fougere, and then a few hours in, you realise it's actually a chypre of great kind of depth and complexity.
Yeah, I mean that's really good perfume.
It's very, very easy to wear,
really
but it's beautiful. It's complex.
I love the herbaceousness of that.
Oh yeah, I get grassiness. I get a real kind of like tarragony, fresh grass.
Yeah. Very multifaceted, even in the opening.
Love it. Another.
Guerlain, what can we expect?
He's a good lad, isn't he, old John Paul? Completely different, but kind of similar, is
I've not heard of
the Path by TRNP. And again, you can see, I've got through quite a lot of it since I've worn it. So you haven't heard of it, but when we did our review of our first review of TRNP, we tried Black Spruce. Which actually at the time was one of the ones we enjoyed the least.
Was it? I hadn't remembered that. Well, obviously I blocked it out.
This is a version, and so Black Spruce was a very kind of sprucey, piney, walking through the woods, path through the woods kind of fragrance. This is her newer version of it, called The Path. So you're going to get a lot of that piney, walking through the woods thing. There's more, but there's more oud in this. It's still a slightly medicinally kind of oudy, but it's such a kind of, I mean, it's so piney. You can smell that kind of pininess already, and it just feels like walking through the woods with all these trees, freshly cut, still standing, falling down. This whole spectrum of trees and pine leaves.
I also get like a little bit of engine oil and wax shoe polish.
Yeah, well, I wonder because you
really
get that kind of resinous-y kind of quality, which could be, as you say, polishing boots or.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
And there is, there still is, I felt in Black Spruce, there was too much kind of edge and kind of twang to it. And there still is edge and twang to this. But somehow, I don't know if it's the kind of, I feel like the dose of oud has gone up a bit in this. That the whole thing feels fuller and rounder. And I just feel you're kind of getting, it's just about wood, really. It's just wood and wood and wood.
Yeah. With there's a little bit of funk just poking its head through here as well.
That's probably.
Oh yeah, I'm already starting to get little hints of funky cheese going on.
Yeah, well, I said the oud is quite prominent there, but I mean it's quite a big fragrance. It's quite a bold fragrance.
Yeah.
But when I'm in the mood, especially sometimes in the winter, and if you're going outdoors, you think, I want to feel like a lumberjack.
Something quite robust.
And fight someone.
Push a cow
but in a really beautiful way.
I really like that. The Path. I'm going to look out for that.
One other quick one, just wanted to mention, which is also another oudy one, and this is in my. If we were able to do a top 10 sexy scents, this would be very high up there. So this is Prin Lomos. This is Titular or Titular. And this is from Prissana. This is another oudy fragrance, but again, it's a load of florals, load of champaca, and
I'm a big fan of champaca now. I never used to be.
Cafe lime as well, and oh god, it's really sexy.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It really is.
It really is floral, sexy, funky, dirty. Oh god, it's so good.
That's really good.
It's very, very, very Prin. Again, hint of sparkling incense.
Yeah, that's the thing. I find a lot of his things, they have all of this depth, and they have a lot of funk and a lot of layers to peel away. But they start with a lot of sparkle, friendly, approachable stuff.
I think he like incorporates just a tiny hint of aldehydes just to give it that bit of twang. Without it doesn't smell aldehydic. It just gives it that twang and that feeling of light and burst when you first spray. I mean, we've mentioned this
really
before, but
I think.
Oh, it's sexy, it's beautiful, and
really good.
And just one more quick mention. Again, it could have made the list, but it's one I love at this time of year. We're actually still walking around the woods with this one. Again, like one I've been working my way through by January Scent Project, Burvuvu. This is, again, we are in the woods, which is one, one I've been reaching at this time of the year.
And Stephen Sondheim just passed away recently, so good tribute to him, maybe. I don't know.
So this is another big cedar. It's interesting smelling after the path, actually. So this is all about cedar, but this has got lots of interesting aniseedy facets. I think I've mentioned before, I've worn it and someone said, oh, it smells like cough sweets. And I kind of get that kind of aniseedy vibe, which cuts through the wood. And is, in a way, when we were talking about the path, we were talking about these medicinal facets. He's also, John Beeble has kind of played on those medicinal facets of cedar and amplified them with this kind of aniseedy twang.
But I love that.
Basil-y.
It feels like there's a sort of aniseed in a wooden damp chest.
Yeah. It's
sort of that combo.
Yeah. I love it. I love it on skin, and it's like a lot of his fragrances. It's quite long lasting, and he's obviously clever with his musks. The way he kind of brings life to it. Love it.
Still a house that needs a lot more attention, I think, than it gets.
Oh, I mean, they're great value. They sell these little. I mean, for me, I'm always attracted by these kind of small bottles. I don't need 100ml bottles.
Yeah.
I would rather have some of these so we can. Anyway, those are my extra ones I've been reaching for recently. What else?
So I've got a few more. These have not had quite as much wearing, but they've had a little bit. So another print, actually, you reminded me, is this little guy, Ganja Kasturi, which I think is literally sort of like weed and musk, isn't it? In terms of how you translate it. Oh, but I mean, we've smelled this a few times.
But we're still in the woods, though, aren't we? Really?
We're still in the woods. We're still in that realm.
Not surprisingly.
And like I find again here that slightly aldehydic opening that just sort of elevates it, but there's sort of weird oiliness as well, which I've really started to enjoy.
Yeah.
Almost like the oil you'd fry churros in or something like that.
Yeah, there's something quite unsettling about it as well.
Yeah, oh god, yeah.
He does this...
it's very, very unsettling.
He does this quite gothic, nocturnal, slightly scary style quite successfully, doesn't he?
And this thing could almost be like lime at night. I mean, it sounds really weird, but it's got that sharpness of something. But the mood of it is very much night and cold.
Night lime.
Night lime, good. Next perfume. No, isn't that how you ring if you're feeling down? Oh, is that something else? But I mean, looking at the sort of stuff, we've got this animalic musk, cannabis note, the patchouli, hay absolute, black tea, cumin, ambret, tobacco, allspice,
tea as well, maybe,
melati, beeswax. I mean, it's a whole treasure trove of stuff. But I love the oiliness. More and more, I don't know if it is oiliness, it's probably something completely different. I mean, it's not a note in perfume as oiliness, but I get this slightly used cooking oil thing, which you think would be gross, but I really love it.
It's always interesting with some of these fragrances that we've reviewed, and we've maybe reviewed after like a few wearings and like formed our opinions, to then actually live with them for a lot longer and see like, if our opinions kind of shift or
things change. You've got to wear them.
It's aldehydic as well. It's definitely aldehydic.
Yeah, it's definitely just got that initial burst, hasn't it? That initial sparkle.
Aldehyde C12 M&A.
My favourite.
Yeah, but that's one. Just a tiny bit of it, just to give a bit of sparkle
and using it judiciously and knowing how it's going to work in a perfume is incredible. He's a talented man.
Amazing
I've got
stuff.
a few other little bits.
Hit me.
I've got a few things in here. I probably wouldn't drag all of them out, but another Serge Lutens, which I've not mentioned yet, and which again Dan has smelt before. But this Cuir Mauresque.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah,
which I really enjoy. I've got two of these things now. I've got Borneo 1834
It's a shame that it's so expensive now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to buy this at retail, it's £260, which I think is ridiculous.
That is too much money.
Because these used to be in the range that included Shaggy and Ambra Sultan and all those guys.
Good sprayer.
I got this for £50 in Harrods. It was marked as 70 down from 260, and I went to buy it, and the guy said, "I'll give it to you for 50."
That's such a nice.
Sort of thought, yeah, okay. Isn't that beautiful?
It just makes me want to like completely cover myself in that.
Yeah,
straight away.
Totally. I mean, this. If you like Knees 10, you'd enjoy
massive
this,
relation.
I think.
It's interesting. The last few things we've had a few woodsy, slightly scary things. I now feel much more comforted.
Yeah, totally.
And sometimes sometimes you do want to wear some scary bold things, but
this, I mean, this is
like
your
kind of
proper
neroli,
backseat
kind of
leather.
pettigrainy.
Yeah, in the
vibe
opening,
as well.
It's a big, unlike the Knees 10, which seems to be straight to the leather. This has a good orange blossom and pettigrain oiliness.
Yeah, but I was going to say, I get the oiliness of pettigrain.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a well-made fragrance.
It really is, isn't it? I mean, I have to say, I find this design odd because it suggests something quite dark and gothic.
It's a bit dildoic on it.
It is dildoic. And when you look at these and think about the variety of scents, I find it odd that you wouldn't want to show the colours of the juice and maybe reflect. Like even something as simple as, if I may pull that up, even something as simple as a little colour scheme on the bottle, on the label, it puts something in mind. So this is quite comforting, but if I saw that on a shelf in a shop, I may quite easily walk past it and think, oh well, they look a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, but I love it, and I find it very much in the style of Knees 10. It's a backseat Rolls Royce leather. Plenty of warmth.
I can really see myself wearing that a lot.
Well, look out for them, or I'll look out for them.
You got it really cheaply, didn't you?
50 quid.
That's
But it was marked as 70. And
well, even 70, I would snap.
Yeah, well, I went to get it. I went to the till, and he said, "I'll tell you what, I'll give it to you for 50." And Borneo 1834 was the same.
Oh, that's
I got them in that same time period.
Nailed it.
And they have Musk, Kubla Khan, and all those old things which were discontinued.
Yeah.
Now in these. So yeah,
amazing.
I enjoy that. What else have I got in there? I've got 3 more things. Another Sarah McCartney number actually, which I really, really love. I really, really love this. Take Me to the River.
Oh yeah, I haven't smelt this.
There she is.
Since we smelt it with her.
That thing there, it's funny because there are relations in this, I think, to our wonderful perfume, Waft from the Loft. Little.
Yeah, I mean, initially more.
This is hefty stuff. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, you say hefty, but actually, having smelt, we've just been smelling leather. It feels there's much more kind of transparency and brightness to that.
It is much brighter.
Kind of winey.
This gently animalic purr that runs throughout it. I find it very sensual, this perfume.
There's already a kind of a sexy, slightly sweet amber.
Yeah.
That's kind of coming through. And a slightly winey vibe.
Yeah.
Fruity, winey.
Lots
of very comforting things that kind of wrap you up.
Yeah.
And it's such. Oh, actually, yeah, I'm getting
animalic skin.
I'm getting that an animalic skin thing. Very elegantly put together, though, isn't it?
It feels very much sort of blended and sort of beautifully balanced. But then it's got some power behind it. It's like, or maybe not this organ, but it's like some organs where you have full swell, but you have the box closed. I can't explain that if you're a non-organist, but basically it has all of the sound, but it's shut behind a wooden slats, and then you just press the pedal and the slats open, and the sound comes out. I feel there's some sort of caged animalic thing here, and it's just so perfectly balanced. It's
interesting. Smelling after the Serge Lutens, actually it feels very much in the same world as the Serge Lutens. It feels very elegant and French. Do you know what I mean? And high-end French.
Yeah, totally.
It doesn't feel, it almost falls in that bracket more than the kind of Prin and January Scent Project artisanal, isn't it? Interesting.
There's something about the smoothness and the lack of shoutiness.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
Prin doesn't shout or John, but they're sort of grabby like that. And I think these they wrap around you, and it's a slightly different mindset, I think. But yeah, love it. I've got 2 more in there, but Actually, the one I've worn a little bit more, I'll tell you, I won't talk about it much, but Coeur de Noir, I've worn a couple of times, which I really enjoyed. That old book.
Having said, we're now definitely going back to the big punchy
gothic. That's dark.
That's like the biggest, most gothic punchy.
Dan owns that as well, and he knows it well. And the other thing is a really old favourite from Tom Ford.
Oh, that is a really great fragrance.
Tom Ford Extreme, and I have to say, I've really enjoyed this because it's got sort of slight plum thing going on.
Oh, it's got real plum. It's a turbo Sex Panther plummy juice.
Still, I've got loads left. Look at that. I never wear my perfumes very often, which is a bit silly because I love them. But this sort of plummy, woodsy.
I'm just getting the wood, but
again, it's a slightly
remember
gothic
it being this
vibes.
kind of Sex Panther juice as well.
Yeah.
That is a great fragrance, isn't it? I mean,
I think really good,
when we did our, it seems like a long ago, but when we did a top 10 of Tom Ford, that came in above most of the private labels.
That was in there, yeah. I think it did well, if I remember.
Lovely stuff.
I have to say, I want to start exploring Tom Ford a little bit more because I've written them off in a lot of ways, and actually, I think apart from the private blends, things like the Beau de Jour have been really quite enjoyable. I'd like to see what he's doing now with some of these new things. There are these rose fragrances, aren't there? That have
I don't know. I feel like a lot of these private label ones, they seem a bit. Some of them which I've tried, they just thought meh.
Yeah.
A bit overpriced. I don't see why they're that price at all.
That's the thing. I think the sort of whole packaging and the luxury of the Tom Ford private blend, that sort of, I don't know, that angle irritates me, and I think that's why I've avoided them. But I think as a perfumer, whoever's behind these, I mean, it's under his guidance, of course, but they are well made. I've never smelled a Tom Ford and thought that's really badly made, apart from possibly that cherry thing, which I didn't like that. I thought that was just
that was really bad.
But yes, I really enjoy this. I've gone on a tangent.
Lovely stuff. So that's our kind of like getting back to you with an update of what we've been wearing and kind of sniffing and reaching for.
Mostly I've been reaching for my alcohol-free beers in the fridge, which are very nice.
But tell us what you've been kind of reaching for in the last few months. As you see, there are a few things which should come back to you, a few comfort things, a few new things. So let us know. So we will now be back, I think, with a few more videos
more regularly
in the pipeline.
So it's quite narrow and dark down there in the pipeline, but we hope you're still watching.
We will slide through it. Until next time,
bye.
Happy sniffing.